welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make these 2 slimline cards using one background die. This is the Fun Flower Slimline background die set from the Stamps of Life. And basically, I'm going to be doing a lot of paper piecing with these cards. So I'm going to be running the background die through the die cut machine, couple different colors of cardstock and some pattern paper, and then piecing all those pieces in like a puzzle to make this beautiful background. So you can see I have the background die here with the poppy color cardstock for the petals, and the petals were taken from the background cut when I cut this background for this card. So you can see the background's here, the petals are here. In addition, I've also cut some pattern paper, pieced it into some of these extra spaces, and on that cut, I used those pieces for some of the flowers on this card. So I was able to do one cut and then piece those pieces in on both of the different cards. So you can see the various looks that you get. It did take a little while to do the paper piecing, but the look is absolutely gorgeous in the end. So let me go ahead and show you how I made these cards. So I'm going to start out by taking my background die, and I'm going to die cut this out of this pattern paper. This pattern paper is from the Brighter Days collection from the Stamps of Life, and it's a blue jay color, which is a light blue color, and it has these little white sunflower designs on them. I do have double-sided adhesive on the back of this pattern paper, and I'm going to run this background die on one side, just on one side of this pattern paper, because as you can see, it does not fit the whole length of this background die. So I'm gonna run it through on this side, and then when that comes out of the die cut machine, I'm gonna turn it over and I'm gonna run it through on the other side so that I get the rest of this background. Because this paper is gonna be used for the pieces that are around the flowers, and I'm going to piece those pieces back in. So let's go ahead and put the background die there. I'm just gonna put some washi tape. You don't have to do this part if you don't want to. Actually, I'm gonna move this over just a little bit just to make sure I'm not going off of this paper. And then I'm gonna run that through my die cut machine. Now, I only ran this through one time. I didn't run it through twice because I really wanted to make sure that a lot of these pieces stayed in the paper, because that's gonna help me when I piece this together, so I can actually see where all of these pieces go. Now I have a couple pieces that got stuck behind in the die, so I'm just gonna use my finger to pop those out, and then I'm gonna pop them right back onto that sheet. So any pieces that might have got stuck, you're gonna need those. So just pop them back in wherever you see where they belong. Next, I'm gonna take this paper and I'm just gonna cut this right to the right of where those pieces were cut from the die. So I'm gonna set this piece aside because I don't want that to mess up. And then, because I had the die facing this way, now I'm gonna just turn it over and I'm going to die cut facing the opposite way to make sure that I get every single piece on that die. So I'm gonna go ahead and run that through my die cut machine. All right, so that just got out of the die cut machine, and I'm just going to carefully remove the paper and any pieces that might get stuck in the die. I'm just gonna try and press them back into that paper. And then just check your die and make sure there's no other pieces left. And if there are, just poke them out and put them back where they belong on your pattern paper. All right, so these 2 pieces are gonna be set aside. Next, we are going to take a piece of powdered sugar cardstock. And this powdered sugar cardstock has double-sided adhesive on the back. And now we're gonna take the background die as well as the actual rectangle that you need to set around it, because we actually want to cut this out of the paper. So this one was cut into the paper. We didn't actually cut the background out. This one we're going to cut the background out of the paper so that we can place it on a card. So I'm just going to add some washi tape just to hold those pieces together and run that through the die cut machine. All right, so let's go ahead and remove this. Okay, and then there's all our pieces. Now these pieces, I'm not going to be keeping those. So any pieces that got left behind in the die, I'm just going to toss these, because when I take this off, I'm just using the background. I don't need any of these pieces that are inside for these flowers. All right, so I have that piece, and I also took the rectangle die and die cut a piece of powdered sugar cardstock, and this you can just use for a background layer. And I'm just going white on white. Now, if you wanted to, and you were wanting to make this just a very simple card, you can put a different color cardstock underneath. So, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. And then that way you can have a nice contrast between the different color cardstocks, and then you can actually then make that a very quick card. So just as an example, if I were to pop that on a background, this is the poppy color cardstock. Look how pretty and vibrant that would be. So you just have your background die onto a piece of pretty cardstock, and then you can put that on a card base, and that would look absolutely gorgeous. But for my card, I'm just going white on white because I am going to be using some other colors to piece in for these different color, or for the flowers. All right, so I'm just going to layer these together. Now, if you wanted to just skip this step, you can just take this and just put it directly onto a card base, on a Slimline card base, and just go right to that particular step. But I'm just chose to add it to a background layer, and then I can go ahead and play with this background layer. Now, if for some reason some of the piece underneath does not get quite straight, the die doesn't get quite straight, you can always just take your scissors and just trim off any extra cardstock. But for the most part, it did get pretty straight. And now I can piece all of these fun pieces back in here. But before I do that, I need to die cut this background die again out of a different color so that I can have some contrasting colors. So next I'm going to die cut this piece of poppy cardstock. I put double-sided adhesive on the back, and I'm going to die cut this out of my background layer because I need another layering piece. So I have these pieces that are going to be for the background, and now the pieces that I'm going to die cut here are going to be for the petals of my flowers. So I'm just going to make sure that these two are layered together. Add some washi tape and run this through my die cut machine. All right, so that just came out of the die cut machine, and I'm just going to remove everything else that I don't need. And I have this fun piece with all of these stickers as well as the background. All right, so next I'm going to take these three pieces. So I have my white background layer that has the actual background adhered to it. I have my poppy piece of background, and then I have my pattern paper pieces, and I'm going to go ahead and just start paper piecing. So I think I'm going to start with the blue, and then I'll move on to the poppy. So just basically when you're doing this, remember all these pieces are going to go onto the white. So just kind of line these up, making sure you have the right ends on the right side, so that way you know where you're putting the pieces. So for example, these pieces match, so I know that this is the top part, and then on this one these pieces match, so this is the top part, and then this part would go towards the bottom. Okay, so I actually have double the layer on some of these, which is perfectly fine in case I for some reason had lost some of these pieces, but I was lucky that they all stayed intact. So on this blue piece, I am taking out the inside pieces. So the pieces that you normally would throw away, those are the pieces that I want to get and put on my white layer. So because they have sticky on the back, they're just like a sticker. So really you just have to peel them up and pop them in. You don't even have to worry about putting glue in there. And then for some of the smaller pieces, you might need to take one of your poker tools and just kind of maneuver it if you need to do that. So again, just pop all of those pieces. Again, these are just the pieces that look like scraps. And then once we finish that, we will move on to the poppy color. So just gonna move that a little bit closer just so you can see. Okay, so I'll do a couple more just so you can get a better idea. So again, this piece would normally be thrown in the garbage, but I'm just piecing it in. And again, only do those pieces that look like garbage. We're not worrying about the petals, and we're not doing the inside pieces. Okay, so we're not doing the circles. All of this will be a different color. And we're gonna go ahead and, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this whole sheet using my pattern paper, and then I'll come back and we'll move on to the poppy. So here's my piece so far. I went ahead and plugged in all of those little scrap pieces of the pattern paper. Now I'm gonna take the poppy cardstock, and all of the petals are gonna go in the petals on the white sheet. I'm not gonna do the inside circles. I'm only gonna do the petals. We will fill those inside circles in with something else, but we'll hold off on that for now. But keep all of the other pieces that are in here. I should say keep all of the little holes, because we will be using this background on another card. So it's going to have the background piece as well as the little inside pieces that we will be able to put on another card. So we'll be able to make 2 cards with all of these sheets. So there is one of the flowers, and now I'm going to finish up doing all of the others. So all of those pieces are put in the flower petals, and isn't that pretty? I don't know if you can see that background. The pattern paper just makes it look so pretty, and those colors just pop together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this piece aside. I'm not gonna worry about, and I see that I just missed a spot, so I'm just gonna have to find that piece and pop that right back in there. But I'm not gonna worry about these middle pieces until a little bit later, but I'm gonna keep all of those open. And then for this piece, I'm gonna go ahead and put that on a card base. So let me quickly grab this piece that I missed, pop that right in there. Okay, and now I have a card base. I actually have 2 card bases because I'm actually going to be able to make 2 cards with this. So if you have the Slimline card die set from the Stamps of Life, and you have the die that makes the Slimline card base, you can use that to cut yourself a card base. I'm using the powdered sugar cardstock. If you do not have the large die to make a card base, you can make this all on your own. You just take a regular cardstock sheet, 8.5 by 11, and you cut your paper to 8.5 by 7, and then you score it at 3.5 inches. And that would be your card base, then just fold there. So if you wanted to, you can take this piece and take a card layer, just cut a card layer using your rectangle die, and pop this on a card layer. So for example, if you wanted this to be a different color rather than white underneath, you can do that. But I'm just gonna put this one on a card base. If you recall, this piece is not on a card base, it's actually on a card layer, but I'm just showing you the difference of how you can do this. Now these just extra pieces I don't need. I'm just gonna take those out. I don't even need to save them. But the pieces that I'm gonna keep inside are the insides of the flowers. So these little circle pieces, I want to go with this background die. So I'm gonna keep those in there and just take out these extra pieces. Which, remember, on this piece, we actually used the pattern paper to fill those spots. This one, this card, we're not going to fill those spots. We're just gonna leave them white. So there's a few options here. I really wanted to incorporate pattern paper, and I thought that this piece would be a fun way to do that. You can also do the pattern paper for your petals if you wanted to, which that's what we're gonna do on this one. All right, so when you apply this, just make sure that everything is centered. So just make sure everything is straight and centered before you adhere it down. Okay, so there is my second card. All right, so now with this one, we can take these pieces and we can pop some flowers back in here. Now, if you wanted to do all of them, you can, or if you just wanted to pick a few, you can do that as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and, first of all, I need to see which side is which. I don't think that's the right side, but this side is. So I'm just gonna pop a few in. So you can see I'm just gonna take the petals out of the pattern paper and just pop them into this poppy background. So again, this is another fun way of adding pattern paper to your card, to your slimline card. So isn't that pretty? So you can see that pretty design on there. So I'm gonna do a few more and then I'll be right back. So here's my second card, and I pieced in a few of the flowers. I didn't put all of them back in. So now I'm gonna be using the beautiful word die. This is from the beautiful statement set from the Stamps of Life. And I do have double-sided adhesive on the back of this black cardstock. This is the licorice cardstock from the Stamps of Life, which I die cut the actual words out. And then the shadow layer was cut out of the powdered sugar cardstock. And I'm just going to add the words to the shadow. And this is going to be the sentiment for one of my cards. And this statement set comes with a stamp set that you can include different stamp sentiments. You can say you are beautiful inside and out, happy people are beautiful people, you're beautiful, a strong and beautiful woman, hey beautiful, life is a beautiful ride, hello beautiful, what makes you different makes you beautiful, beautiful baby, you have a beautiful smile, have a beautiful day, for my beautiful friend. And I'm just taking a piece of white cardstock and I'm going to stamp out, oh, that didn't come out. Let me do that again. I'm gonna stamp out the word hey. And then I'm gonna just trim that down. So now I'm gonna go ahead and place the word beautiful on my card. All right, so this is going to go in the center. I could put it off to the right, but no, I think I'm just gonna put it in the center. And then the word hey, I was thinking I was gonna put it here on the top, but I guess you could always put it in the front, but I think I'm gonna put it right above it. I think that's where I want it. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add this entire layer to a card base. All right, so if you wanted to, if you don't have nuvo drops, you can just die cut that same background die again out of a different color cardstock and then pop the centers in there. So the nuvo drops that I have are the dandelion yellow. Now, if you don't have nuvo drops and you don't want to use cardstock, maybe you have the 3D ink from the Stamps of Life, you can try and use that as well. So I'm just gonna add these to the center, and this is the last thing that I'm gonna do, because this will need to sit and dry flat. So that's why you need to make sure you add this to a card base. And once you've added it to a card base, you are going to be then finished after you add your nuvo drops. Now these nuvo drops, they dry hard. So I would give this a good 24 hours to dry. It probably won't take that long, but I am, just like to be on the safe side. So I'm gonna let this dry flat till tomorrow, and then I'll have my finished card. I'll be able to handle it. And once these dry hard, it's gonna be just like an enamel dot. So that is my finished card. I love how that turned out. Look how gorgeous that is. Look at those colors. So pretty. So for this card, I used the Be Beautiful statement, and I am going to just add some glue to the back. This one is actually going to go in the corner. I think it will look better in this corner. So I'm going to add that there. And I am going to add a ribbon. I think that this ribbon will bring out that blue in the flowers. So next I'm going to take a few of these silver epoxy dots and I'm going to put them in the center of the flowers that are blue. This will just add some more sparkle. So to keep this bow flat, I'm just gonna add a little bit of hot glue just right underneath the knot. And that completes my second card.